Welcome to the Hook, Line, Sinker lesson format training module. Today we will look at the hook of a lesson in full detail. The training will help you establish hooks that are meaningful and connect to the line, which is the main section of a lesson. We will review real lesson plans that showcases the hook and how it relates to the line section. Now, if you look at the screen, we have a full lesson plan, hook, line, and sinker. And if you will notice, the hook has the students explaining a slogan. And that slogan is going to tie directly into that line, which is going to tie into the activity of the sinker. But before we get into that, let's look at how we actually establish these hooks so that the student can invest in the lesson and engage. The TEKS for today is 7.2b. Identify important individuals, events, and issues related to European exploration of Texas. They talk about Pineda, Cabeza de Vaca, and other explorers and their search for gold and the conflicting territorial claims between France and Spain. Now, the meaning of the TEKS is Spain and France were rivals in the acquisition of territory. Spain saw France as a threat when LaSalle of France takes possession of land that was once occupied by Cabeza de Vaca of Spain. What happened was Mexico had a sulfur mining industry going, and Spain leaves the land that they had occupied in Texas to go down to Mexico to begin to mine sulfur in order to make money. Well, along comes LaSalle in France, and they establish a fort right next to the previously acquired land of Spain. Well, when Spain returns and they see that LaSalle and France has established their territory, of course they're livid and feeling very threatened and territorial. They begin to push the French out and want them out of their land. Land that they had taken for granted, of course, before, and never thought that someone else would come along and want to possess it. Here's where you want to choose a hook that connects the meaning of the TEKS presented in the lesson to an everyday event in the student's life that will introduce the idea to the student. The student should be able to spring forward with that idea into the line, with that idea firmly implanted so that it connects. Once they get to the line, it connects with the hook that they just learned. The hook is a very important initial step. It should lure the student into the lesson. What the teacher wants to do is identify what the student will study in the lesson and create an invitation that's going to pull that student in to the lesson. We see here that the hook says, explain the slogan, you never miss a good thing until it's gone. That's a general hook that most students can relate to. You get the students to write about any event in their life where they did not miss something until the actual threat of it was there. The action of the hook is that the hook establishes the idea that things become more important once they are taken away, or the risk of them being taken away is present. And that's going to establish in the student mind they probably had a toy or some possession in their childhood that they took for granted until the parent wanted to give it away or donate it or something, and then the student becomes very possessive and territorial of that item again. That's a perfect segue into the line, because we know that Spain took the land for granted until France comes along, and then they become territorial and possessive of the land as well. If we look at the full lesson again, we have our hook, explain the slogan, you never miss a good thing until it's gone, which is going to feed directly into the actual line of the lesson, which will be the Spanish and French rivalry. Thank you for participating in this section of the Hook, Line, Sinker lesson format training module.